Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, host of SellerCast, and in today's episode I've brought on a good friend of mine. His name is Scott, and I've known him since early 2015, and he's been selling on Amazon, and he also has a very popular podcast. And so if you're listening to this podcast and you've been out there looking for other Amazon-focused podcasts, odds are you've probably stumbled upon his show as well. It's available at theamazingseller.com, so be sure to check that out as well. But let's go ahead and start the episode and see what we had to say in this conversation. Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, and we also have Scott from theamazingseller.com on the podcast as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Scott.
Hey, no problem, Chris. I'm really excited to finally be on your show. I'm a longtime listener and a follower of your blog, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very curious to see, you started this blog, you have your podcast, you've got a massive audience on Amazon, but how far back did you first start selling on Amazon?
Going back for Amazon was October 22nd was my first day I went live with my first sale, I guess you would say. But I really started getting the idea around probably early September, maybe late August is when I really kind of started seeing that this might be something that I would want to entertain and kind of look into.
Okay. And then what were you doing before that, though?
Well, I won't go too far back, but basically, my wife and I owned a photography studio, a brick and mortar one, probably going back 12, 13 years now. And we did that and did it pretty successfully. But then we were finding that we were really just spending a lot of time with customers. Not that it was a bad thing, but we were tying up a lot of our personal time, our nights and evenings and weekends and stuff. So we wanted to diversify, went ahead and started seeing how we could maybe make some extra money doing something online. Long story short, decided to teach people what we did to get our business off the ground for photographers. Had a launch. Changed my life because I didn't realize that you could actually make over $10,000 in a day and a half doing a launch. And it doesn't sound like a lot of money to people that do these massive launches, but to me, it was an eye opener. And we created a course teaching people how we got started and built a little email list and launched it and started running that. And we're still running that actually, and doing really well at that and have been. But I've always been wanting to, once I decided that I could actually do this thing where you could do digital products or whatever, it was really the best thing because you didn't have to have inventory and stuff. So I didn't want to have inventory because I didn't want to have the hassles and I didn't want to have to ship things. So this Amazon thing, what attracted me was FBA, which is Fulfilled by Amazon, which your audience probably knows. But it was really where they do all the heavy lifting. They take care of all the customer service. They take care of the refunds. They take care of packaging, all that stuff. All you got to do is ship the inventory in, and then it's in their hands. And I really like that model because, again, as an entrepreneur, as you are and I am, I just wanted another revenue source. And I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And seeing that I kind of knew what I was doing online, I said I'll just kind of like adapt the marketing stuff to this and see what happens. And I guess long story short, here we are, and I'm doing pretty decent. I mean, I'm not doing like $100,000 a month like some people you hear, but I'm doing pretty good. And I mean, for just starting in October till now, I mean, it's life-changing for a lot of people. But yeah, that's pretty much my story in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I actually want to latch on to a few of those points, right? So first of all, since people are naturally financial voyeurs, what would when you say pretty good, can you give like a recent time period in terms of your sales?
Yeah. Actually, I recorded this and everything on my podcast, but it basically, the first 90 days from basically launching my product to the 90 days, I believe it was like around 47,000 in generated sales. And the cool thing about that was the first month or month and a half might have been maybe $8,000 to $10,000. But then as the momentum started to build, and that's what happens with this business, it really started to escalate. And that's where I came to the 47,000. And again, I just want to be clear that that's not profit, that's revenue generated. And a lot of people will say, oh, I did 100,000. Yeah, but how much margin is it and how much did you actually make? And my margin at that time was probably around 38, maybe 40%. And my goal was to get it to 50%. It still is. I'm still not at 50%. But just to give you a kind of a snapshot now, since then, every month has been pretty much over 30,000 since the first of the year.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think my last month was, I really do kind of give it all away on my podcast, kind of like the Pat Flynn model where I kind of give my income report away. I think my last month was like right around 34,000. And I think this coming month, I'm going to beat that, which actually in the summer, you probably know this too, Chris, it's slower in the summer. It's supposed to be. And I'm actually going to have a better month than I did last month. And we're heading into August.
That's great. And for context, I don't know if you share specifically how many products you have, but are you able to share
Yeah.
like a range?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right now, I currently have, and I have to figure the variations because I have one product that has actually four variations. So pretty much, let's see if you count those as individuals, and then I'd say seven. It would be seven SKUs, is what we would call them.
Mhm.
But most of the income right now, because I just launched the one with the variations about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and that's just starting to build momentum. But really, the first product I launched is doing probably close to 55, 60 units a day right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what it seems like. Most people I talk to that are up and selling on Amazon, their first product just seems to, for even for a sizable time period after they first start selling, seems to dominate their sales because that longevity of being up and selling on Amazon just starts to compound itself. And
Absolutely.
even when you launch new products, you've still got some time to be able to get those up and going.
Yeah.
That's great. So then, the other thing I was curious about, you mentioned that you still run the other photography businesses. So is that something that your wife runs, and then you run the Amazon side?
Kind of. We kind of both do it. We've really kind of taken that business to where instead of teaching people how to start a business, we started. And again, this is kind of like how you start something, and then kind of how it morphs into something else because you start seeing what your audience wants. We were
Yeah.
teaching people how to use Photoshop and kind of how to do edits and kind of how to really do kind of like green screen type photography, where you cut the subject out of a background, put them into a digital background. And we were kind of going down that road because it was just for people that were following us. They wanted like a less expensive way to kind of get started and actually add things to their photography that we already had, like edits and stuff. So we started going down that line where we were offering digital kind of like templates for them to use, and then showing them in Photoshop how to use them. And we actually created a online membership area where we would deliver, and we still do this, where we deliver a digital creation, we call it. It's basically a digital template every single month. And we also have like videos and resources and other card templates and collage templates and all that stuff in this members area. And we have members in there right now paying us a monthly fee. So that's still running, and we still tend to that. My wife does more of the creative, and I do more of the edits. If that
Okay.
makes sense. She really comes up with because that's really where it started with our photography business. Was she really had the eye for the photography, and I kind of had the technical aspect of it, or willing to learn the technical aspect of it. So we really were able to kind of, I guess, piggyback on each other's strengths. And now to this day, she still comes with me with the concepts and kind of like the ideas, and then we kind of turn them into a digital item that then we can turn over and give to our customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know offline, we've talked a lot, multiple different conversations and varying degrees on different types of topics and businesses and all that. But, so it sounds like you've got quite a bit going on. I mean, how are you managing your time? And also in particular with your respect to your Amazon business, is it just a matter of, you focus on one aspect of your other businesses during one part of the day, and then in the evenings, are you working on your Amazon business because of the relationship with your suppliers in China, or what are you doing in that regard?
Yeah. That's a great question. And I wish I had an exact answer for you, Chris, because I think as well as I do, being an entrepreneur, it's really hard. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges is really discipline and really coming up with a system. And I'm still working on that. But I do really now, I try to theme my days. And I learned that from Kate Erickson from Entrepreneur on Fire. It's John Lee Dumas's girlfriend, and she's got her own podcast called Kate's Take. Little plug there for her. Really good if you want to learn more about systematizing and processes and really time management and stuff. She's really good. I'm actually going to have her on my show in an upcoming podcast. But yeah, I mean, really for me personally, I try to theme my days. And like for me personally, in the morning though, I kind of have structured. Now my wife kind of takes care of part of the Amazon business where she really deals with the customer service aspect of it, like going and seeing our seller feedback, and then she'll reply to that seller feedback. And I have a little template for her that I gave her that then she forwards that to those people or emails those people to try to get them to leave us feedback and then reviews, or actually reviews because it's off of a feedback. So really that's kind of her thing in the morning. She does that maybe about 15, 20 minutes. And that's really all she does with the business, other than she is always thinking of products now. Now that we're kind of in this same mindset, we're always looking at product ideas and trying to build that out. My day really looks like, I try to allocate time for the Amazon business, maybe an hour a day. An hour in the morning, really. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't go back in it the rest of the day. But I try to, I try to go in and look at my Amazon pay-per-click because that's a really big driver for me. And I think that a lot of people don't utilize, but really going in and seeing what's going on inside of there, tweaking, adding new keywords, and really just trying to refine that and trying to push that for more sales. So I spend about a half hour to an hour in there a day, depending if I got a new campaign or not running. And other than that, it's really, if I had an order that I needed to, or an inventory I needed to order, then yes, I would have to email my supplier. And then I would usually just wait till the following day because it is a 12-hour difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, if I spend, 2 hours a day on my Amazon business, it would be a lot. I would say some days it's an hour, but that's pretty much it. In the beginning now, that's a different story. In the beginning, I spent, probably 8 hours a day trying to find the products, and ideas and research and suppliers and packaging and all that stuff. So your first part of this process, I think, is the longest. Then once you get things rolling, then it's a matter of maintenance and really just then figuring out what else you're going to add to your product line.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually, since you brought it up earlier, you're talking about Amazon ads, and so maybe can you dive in a little bit deeper in terms of what you do? In terms of are you primarily running manual campaigns? Are you running automated campaigns? What Amazon ad products are you using? Everything.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question, and so to me, it's really about when you start out, I always use an auto campaign. And I kind of teach this to people that are either listening to the podcast or that are in my class. But basically, I always tell people to start with an auto campaign because the auto campaign is then going to take your product and it's going to, or Amazon is going to position that in front of keywords that they feel would be a good fit for it. So I let that run for like 7 days. I put an ad budget of like $25 a day. I never spend $25 a day on that particular ad, but I like to put it higher so I'll get as much as I can as far as clicks. And then I'll put it like a 75-cent per click bid on it. And I'll let it run for 7 days. I won't even look at it. And then I'll go ahead and I'll take the data from there and then I'll compile all of the stuff that looks like it's good. Like if it's got impressions, if it's got clicks, if it's got sales, it'll tell me all that. And then I take a lot of the keywords that are winners and I'll put them into a manual campaign. And then I'll run that for another 7 days at the same budget and the same cost per click. That's like the starting part. Now, once you get past that, you can do a ton more by scraping keywords or going into Google AdWords and going after seed keywords, Longtail Pro. You can use all of those tools to then get you more ideas to throw them into a campaign and test and see what's going to work and what's not going to work. And then just kind of like, pause the losers and add more money to the winners. It's really that's it. It's simply and, the easy as it is.
Yeah. So just mass amounts of keywords, basically. And then what you find that isn't working, get rid of it. And then if it's working and doing well, are you usually raising the budget on the keywords that you see are getting a lot more impressions and clicks for, or maybe you not having it set up? Is every, I guess the way to phrase this, because I'm thinking about the Seller Central dashboard right now. Do you have all your keywords within one campaign, or are you separating out multiple different campaigns and then separate budgets for each of those?
Yeah, well, and it's funny because they make it so easy to throw in new campaigns that you can literally have hundreds of thousands. And it's funny because I've got a buddy of mine who I call him my pay-per-click ninja because he's like in a lab, like just going over these keywords. He just got a notification from Amazon that there's a limit to how many keywords you can have in your account. And do you know what that?
What's the limit? I'm curious.
It's 1 million keywords. And he went over 1 million keywords.
Wow.
Because he was just slapping them in there, like 800 keywords from Google, AdWords, under one search. He was exporting and throwing it into a campaign and doing a $25, day budget, 75 cents on cost per click, and then just letting it run. And and he actually he's done, and I've done this too. I've taken your software, the AmaSuite, and I've taken that. I've used the keyword tool, and I've put in some seed keywords or whatever, and I'll go ahead and I'll get a whole list, and I'll slap them into a campaign and put my budget on it and walk away from it for a week and come back and look at the data. And then I literally will just pause the ones that are failing and, just keep the ones that are winning. And then from there, I might raise it to $50 a day. So that's the thing that people don't do, I think, in the Amazon space is they go after the obvious keywords. They'll put in like one campaign or they'll just run an auto campaign and that's it. And they're losing so much potential because here's the thing. If you test something for like a couple of weeks and you figure out finally that you found some converting keywords, because let's face it, they give you the data, right? They show you impressions, clicks, in sales from certain keywords. So the ones that are performing well, that are converting well, they're the ones that you want to throw money at because you know that it's getting you sales. So to me, it's like finding the winners. And then once you find a winning campaign, start raising the budget until you see that it's not converting the same. And then just back off a little bit, and now you've got a winning campaign, you know?
And so for these sales, are you at all even concerned about them being profitable sales, or are you just thinking, I want the volume, even if ideally maybe it breaks even or makes some profit, but you just want the sales for the velocity?
Yep, 100%. And I'm going to tell you the other reason why you want it, because you want ranking. And the thing is I'm going to give you a little story here, and I shared this on one of my workshops I did. You basically, if you think about it like this, if you think about someone searches for a keyword and they buy through your keyword that you're advertising for, you've then put up like a flag or a signal to Amazon that says, hey, someone just bought from this keyword, stainless steel garlic press, and they clicked on that person's ad, they bought through that ad. So now we should probably start considering ranking them for that keyword. And the more sales you get through that keyword, even if you're paying for it, and even if you're at a loss, you're then going to show up organically, and then it's game over. Because now you're starting to get all this organic traffic. And I'm just going to give you a quick example. And I use this example because it's a great example, is I spent $1,300 1 month, and I only generated 110 sales from that 1,300. But overall, on top of the 110, I produced another 1,500 sales from organic. And I believe that was done because from the start, I've had that same mindset that I don't care. As long as I'm going after these keywords that I know that I want to rank for on front page, eventually it's going to outweigh what I'm spending in pay-per-click.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I have a buddy that the last time I talked to him about it was about 6 months ago, but he was spending like $2,000 a day. It was what he was trying to do on ads. Wow. Just insanity. So he's at a pretty high level, but yeah.
But if it's making money.
And that's exactly what he was saying is, I'm just trying to get the sales velocity so I can rank for organic. But
ranking for,
I believe he's in more competitive categories too.
It sounds like it, because I don't even think I could spend $2,000 a day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think that the volume would be there. And I think that's what you'll find too. And I got another little tip too for your listeners that, like, let's say that you can do this two different ways. But the first way, let's say that you take and you scrape some keywords, like, in your tool, let's say you take all of those keywords that AmaSuite produces for you. You go ahead, you put it into a campaign. And let's say that you start with that campaign and you want to start at like 20 cents a bid. And then if you don't start getting impressions, it's most likely because you're not bidding enough. Okay. Mm-hmm. But you might start to see that you're getting some impressions on these keywords that are like low hanging fruit. So now all of a sudden that you're starting to see that you're getting maybe out of that batch of, let's call it 100, you get 10 keywords that are getting, they're getting traffic from a 10 cent or 20 cent bid. Extract those, put them into a separate campaign, and know that those are like low hanging fruit. Then what you're going to do next is raise the bid up to 40 cents. Start seeing where you start getting impressions on other keywords. Extract them, do the same thing, and just keep repeating that process until you can see that you're not overpaying for keywords, but then you're also finding the low hanging fruit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, since we're on the topic, right? When I first was like, "Hey, let's do a podcast together," right? Because this is clearly, you know a lot about it. It'd be great for Salesbacker people. But are you doing anything else for paid advertising off Amazon? Right? Are you doing any type of Facebook advertising, anything else like that? Or are you just relying on Amazon's ecosystem right now?
Right now, I don't think anyone that's starting, even at my level, should be even looking at outside, any type of outside ads or Facebook ads. I mean, as well as I do, nothing's going to convert better than Amazon traffic, right? Inside of their ecosystem, people are there to do one thing, to buy stuff, right? And if we're taking and interrupting something on Facebook, your conversion will be less. Can you still get sales? Absolutely. But are the numbers going to be the same? Probably not. They're probably not even going to be close. So I'm saying, like, if you're on Amazon and you're converting at 15%, which is not unlikely, by the way, you could be converting as high as 25% or even more, depending on what kind of market you're in. But if you're converting at 15%, that's pretty darn good. And offline or off of Amazon, if you're doing Facebook ads, you'd probably be lucky if you can hit 5%. So I would rather take my money and invest it in pay-per-click and just keep refining that and mastering that until I feel I've exhausted everything.
Yeah.
And, because think about this too. If someone finds you from Facebook, okay, and let's say you have an ad running there, and then you point them to your listing and you get the sale, you don't get credit for the keyword that they found you on. There's no recollection there. They don't look at that. They just look at, okay, you got a sale. That's cool. Good. You got a sale. Good. This person got a sale, but we have nothing to tell us why they got the sale. But in Amazon, if you advertise pay-per-click and someone buys something, they know that they bought through a keyword, so that's going to help you rank for that keyword.
Yeah.
So I don't do any outside traffic right now. The only time I'll ever do Facebook ads is if I'm trying to run people to a promotion. So this way here, I can maybe get some sales to start getting reviews in the beginning. And then I'll build a little email list of like a VIP list of people that are interested in my my market.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then let's shift gears a bit ahead then. So then, are you doing anything with your own website? Right? Do you have a store for your site? Are you selling the same types of products, or are you kind of all in the same niche, or you have things in a lot of different areas, and maybe you have separate websites for each brand?
Yeah, no, actually, right now, I believe that a lot of people should do it this way, or most people should try to do it this way. I would stick with one product line, at least up to 5 products if you can, because I think it's easier to then sell the other product, because one product is going to help sell the other. And there's different things you can do for that, whether it's an external promotion that actually populates onto each listing to kind of piggyback on each other. And Amazon will also say, recently bought together and all that stuff, right? So no, I personally think that people, and myself included, should stick to that. Now, with an outside website, I have a website. I don't really have anything that they can buy on the website other than a link pointing back to my Amazon listing. Because right now, I'm just trying to keep the sales volume and kind of everything focused on Amazon. But I do want an external website that if people wanted to go to, they could, and they can get resources and information about the product and maybe even a little bit about the brand. But right now, I have not done that. Is that in the future? Yes, absolutely. I think everyone should be trying to do an external channel with a Shopify site or something like that, because then it's going to help also diversify and protect you, that if something happens with Amazon, you're going to have a customer list that you could always drive people to that storefront and get organic from SEO, like Google and Bing and Yahoo and all those. But yeah, as of right now, I'm not even focusing on that. I just have a basic generic blog with a little bit of content. But future, I want to have like even a content writer that'll do like maybe a post every few days and put it up there and have it be pointing back to a storefront. So that is the future. But in the beginning, I think that people should focus on, including myself, on really just getting the Amazon thing really going, because that's where I think your time is going to be well spent.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that early on, the part of the problem that I see with a lot of people that start out is, maybe they're going for just one product early on, but then they don't necessarily know what they should be doing. And so they end up trying to do, a shotgun approach of a bunch of different things all at once and just kind of seeing what sticks rather than focusing on like one area, for example, just Amazon. But yeah, so I was just curious to see where you're at in that life cycle, I suppose you could say. We've jumped around a little bit, I guess. We've talked about the other businesses you started, why you got into selling on Amazon, some of the pay-per-click strategies you're using. What are you trying to do or what's your system for deciding what products you want to sell? You mentioned you had 7 products right now. Are you trying to just grow the ones you have now, or you think that, you can add more? And, I'm curious if you're trying to do, 50 products that all do X amount per month, or if you're trying to get up to 10 and then keep those and try and make those about the same that those 50 products combined could go.
Yeah, that's a great question. And, when I first started this, my goal was like every product I released, I wanted to sell at least like 20 units a day. That was like my benchmark. I've since changed that to where it's now like more around 10 a day. I've kind of adopted this little strategy called the 10 by 10 by 1, which is 10 units a day sold at $10 profit for one product would be $100 a day profit, so times that by 5, you got $500 a day profit business. So that was kind of like my new thing. And I think it's easier. And I think you and I both talked, kind of on the side about this as well. We kind of both agree that it's a little bit easier to go after that. You're not having to do these, constant blasts to get reviews, and you don't have people trying to, spam your reviews and bring your account down and stuff. So that's really, I guess, my focus. I guess my goal right now would be to have a nice solid suite of like 10 or 15 products that are doing 10 units a day consistently. I think that would be beautiful. But right now I'm still trying to build out this brand and really add products that will complement each other, because I think it's definitely easier for that than to start a completely another brand. And I'm actually pretty excited. I found another product recently that I'm going to be rolling out here soon, and it's going to be U.S. based, but it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt. I got to be honest with you, because I'm really taking and finding pieces that it's going to almost like make this work without giving it away. It's kind of like I'm buying from different vendors to make this one product, but in the end, it's going to be a little bit easier because I'm going to be able to source from the U.S. So I'm going to get things in like 3 days. And then I'm just going to have to I've got a 17-year-old son. I told you that. So I'm going to hire him to actually just to test the theory. I'm not going to hire him full time to do this because I don't want my house to be a factory. But we're going to do maybe 500 units and just kind of test it. And if this does work, which I think it will, by just looking at the numbers, I've got like 4 other products that I could do the same thing with that would be very complementary of this product I'm going to roll out, but also ties into the first product I ever released. So I'm kind of excited about that because it's going to be a little bit easier to get, but it's going to be a little bit more of figuring out the logistics of it. But yeah, to answer your question, my goal is to like 10 solid products doing minimum of 10 units per day at $10 profit each.
Nice.
That's kind of my goal. I think I'm going to do it. I do. I really do.
Yeah, I think you touched on several key elements. I like that 10 by 10 by 1 that you mentioned. And I also think too that there's a lot of wisdom in the sense of saying, going after a strategy where you're using a US supplier. Because I think that in general, a lot of people see what's working, what the majority of people are doing, and then they go do the exact same thing. Whereas if you can think about, hey, maybe there's US suppliers that you might traditionally think this is something you go to China for. But if you can make it work in the US, then yeah, you solve a lot of those logistical problems that you run into. And I'm sure you probably had products run out of stock before when you're dealing with Chinese suppliers.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I haven't yet. But there's a but there. We just had Prime Day not too long ago. I mean, I don't know when this is going to air, but July 15th it was Prime Day, which was a crazy day, by the way. My sales were triple that day, and since then, one of my biggest competitors ran out of stock, and because of that, now I started scooping up a lot of his sales, and I didn't plan for that. So I'm kind of panicking here a little bit. I already put another order in for 2,000 units to be shipped as soon as possible, but they're not going to be able to get them to me for about another 30 days. So I had to slow things down, and as well as I do, to slow things down, a lot of times you got to pause your pay-per-click a little bit, and you got to raise the price maybe a little bit to try to slow the velocity. And it's been working, but you don't really want to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I could be doing like 80 units a day, but I got to scale it down so I can only sell 60. But yeah, I'm making a little bit more on the margin, but I don't want to lose this. But anyway, so I haven't yet. And I'm hoping I'm not going to be able to. I kind of got it planned out to where I think I'm going to be able to do it, but I might be out. But I have heard from others. I have someone in my class right now that ran out of stock for like 2 weeks, and then he got stock back in, and now he's back to where he was, and he's actually doing a little bit better. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but yeah, it's definitely, if you can do something in the US that you have more control of, it's going to help you. But like you said, and I think we should point this out, that if you can find, or if you can put something together that isn't just bought from one place, it makes it harder for someone else to jump on that with you. Because now they got to go and find the exact pieces in these different locations. The problem with that is logistically, you have to then try to figure out a way to get them all together in one package and then ship it off to Amazon. But
yeah, so there's some extra challenges.
There's some challenges, but you know what? With challenges, it makes it easier or harder for them to actually come in and do what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's just something else to figure out.
Yeah. So then, were most of your products that you've been selling before, were they sourced through something like Alibaba, or were you using another type of source to find those suppliers?
Yeah, pretty much all Alibaba. And, I was just talking to another gentleman today about this. And, Alibaba is great to kind of get your start. But then to me, it's like finding that supplier or that agent. And that's really what Alibaba is. I mean, for those of you that don't know, agents are usually working for a company or multiple companies, and then you go through those. But it's a great way for you to kind of interview, and see how they're working. And then from there, you can then piggyback on that and say, hey, I'm looking to add this type of product. Can you get that? And if they can't, a lot of times they can either point you to a place, or they'll go get it for you, and they'll just be the middle person. So that's kind of what I've done there. I've really kind of used Alibaba to kind of get my start as far as finding an agent. Now from there, I just go directly through them, even just through email. I don't even go through the Alibaba interface or anything like that.
Yeah. I for the most part, when I deal with suppliers, I like to just get them onto Skype and talk just back and forth, and rather than dealing with the back and forth system within Alibaba. But so then, have you thought about hiring a full-time buyer agent, or maybe if you're going for 10 products, maybe that's not yet something you would need to do, right? Once you have your 10, you're just focused on maintaining those and growing that sales base.
Yeah, pretty much right now. And again, I think it's, I deal with things as they come, and right now that's not necessary for me. But it's not something I would be opposed to, because obviously you have to make changes as you grow. But yeah, I think with 10 products, it's manageable. And I think to find them, and like I said, I think I have more product ideas right now than I could actually roll out right now. Because with this business, it is a little bit more challenging because every time you roll a product out, you got to send a chunk of money down too. It's not just like you're going to just say, oh, let's put a digital product up. Let's go put a website together and put it up. It's like you literally got to put some money out, so it makes it a little bit slower. And again, it's a riskier, I'd be lying if I didn't say every time I launch a product, I don't have a little bit of a doubt in my head that says, hey, this might not work. What if it doesn't work? But I think that's with anything. And without that, you're not going to grow. You're just going to sit there and be paranoid.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And actually, on that, have you had products that haven't gone out and done well?
Yeah.
Or have most of them done pretty well?
I have one. I have the second product I ever launched that didn't do that well. And I know exactly why. Want to know why?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Well, it's again, failing to look at all of the data. And the data was the depth of a market. I didn't see that the first two listings were selling, yes, but the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, ninth, and 10th weren't. They weren't selling good enough. They were selling like maybe, I don't know, 3-4 a day. But the two top ones, they were selling probably 30-40 a day. So the problem with that is I need to come in there in the number 1 or number 2 position in order to get the sales. And that's a lot harder to do than if you find the top 10 and just find a way to get yourself in the 10 somewhere to where you can get the 10 or 15 sales a day. So I didn't look at the depth of the market. I looked at the first two and thought I had a winner. And I still, again, I say it wasn't a success. It's a failure. A failure is like selling 5 a day, right? That's a failure. It's still making money, right? I got to still just order inventory, replace it, maybe 500 units at a time, replenish it. And it's selling still 5. Some days I've had 7 or 8 a day. And I think that it also will do better at certain times of the year. It's not a seasonal product necessarily, but there is different times of the year that it would definitely be more in demand. But in the summer is usually a slow month anyway. But again, it's not a loser, but it's not a winner to me either. But it's not a loser at all.
Yeah. So I think it's good then. Obviously, what the problem was with that one, and so their future products. Sounds like you learned from that mistake and improved upon that process. Are there any other strategies that you use during your product launches? I know that we talked about Amazon pay-per-click, and that was a big component of your launch strategy. But is there anything else? Now that we're kind of here talking about product launches?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's pretty much the same now, and I've refined it a little bit, of course, but. Really, I look at it as getting the product, getting the listing optimized. Obviously, you want a good images, good title, bullets, description, get all that stuff built out. And again, those are things you're going to refine over time, and you can kind of tweak them. But getting that up and running, and then initially getting your 10 or 15 reviews if you can from family or friends. And some people listening might be like, well, Scott, that I've heard that that's not good because those reviews will probably go away, and they might not be as good, or they might not be verified and all this stuff. And I don't really care, because in the beginning, I'm just doing it for a base of reviews. I'm doing it for the initial social proof, and I don't care if they go away in a month. That's my philosophy. A lot of people were, they don't want to lose reviews, which I don't know if you heard this, Chris, but I just heard in my own Facebook group, there was a couple of threads going that it seems like Amazon's coming in and starting to slap some listings. So people are complaining that they're losing 25, 30 reviews at a clip.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that people should be aware of, and this is for any business that you build, but any business that's built on some reliance on another large company, right? So if we're talking about websites, then obviously changes to Google's algorithm would be the biggest impact there. But when we're talking about Amazon, then there's things that they will change, and strategies that might work today may not work, or you might need to tweak them. And I always kind of assumed that Amazon would, do some of the things like placing weight on the most recent reviews, so people can't just go out, get a bunch of them at once, and then, sit back and do nothing. And also too, just the fact that, they're probably looking at your relationships that they have between your friends on Facebook, right? So if you're connected to your Facebook in some way, or they know who you are, then they can look that up as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that either, right? I think that over the long haul, if you have a solid strategy for what you're going to do for your business and how you're going to continue to innovate and try new strategies, then you'll be fine. But if you don't try new things and you aren't learning constantly, then that is something to be concerned about, because Amazon's going to throw those curveballs. It's always going to be changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let your audience know too, this is what I've kind of gathered from just hearing people talking about it in the group of ours is people were saying like they were being removed because they didn't have the disclaimer in there. So if you're going and you're sending out your product for like promotions or whatever to a VIP group or something, if they don't disclose that they received it at a discount for an honest review, they're going in and immediately then going to remove that. So that's one thing. That's one little tip. And then the other thing is like little one-liner, like reviews like great product, right? So they might have a character thing that says if it's under 100 characters, remove it, done. So they're probably building in filters that's going to automatically come in here and clean things up. And I'm a fan of that because it's going to level the playing field. And I look at it like I said, if I'm going to do a blast, if I'm going to do any type of promotion, if I'm going to give away 50 units or 100 units to try to get my initial reviews, I'm doing that just to get on the map. And then I'm looking to then drive organic sales through pay-per-click. That's going to help me rank organically and start getting me organic sales. That's going to then turn into a solid feedback and a solid review using a tool like Salesbacker that actually can automate the process for me and then really just start driving these organic, natural, real, right, reviews. And then from there, they're going to stick. Those are going to be the ones that are going to stick. And I also think too, I've got a little bit of a new strategy in mind, which I haven't shared yet, but I'll share it here, is, rather than even doing like a crazy like 100 unit giveaway, maybe just reducing my price to where it's, instead of it being $20, being $19 or $9, right? Maybe $9 or $9.95, because then it's a true sale, right?
Yep.
There's no discount code even used. And this way here, I'm going to have a real sale and I'm going to be able to send them as soon as they buy, they're going to go through my Salesbacker sequence. And then from there, they're going to turn into hopefully a review or a feedback for me. So that's my strategy really moving forward with a launch, is really just that initial base for social proof, turn on pay-per-click, start getting some organic. I might have to play with some pricing. And then from there, start slowly raising the price.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you that when I launched my first product, that's sort of what I did. I did it really low price because I thought, you know what, even if I lose money on this first shipment, I don't care. I just want to get some rankings, right?
Yeah.
And that worked pretty well. So, yeah, and I think that makes sense, especially if you combine that with some of the other strategies we talked about from pay-per-click and other elements to get that initial base going. But well, shoot, I'm looking at our time, and I think we should probably wrap it up. But it's easily one of those things where we could come back and do another episode just based on, changes, right? Changes in the strategies that you're employing and changes in what you see on Amazon, right? Like the review thing we're talking about right now, it may be completely different 6 months from now.
Yeah, true. So, I don't think so, as much as far as like the whole going after pay-per-click is what they want, right? And I actually think this too, Chris. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have the same the same thought process or not, but I think also if you're spending money on pay-per-click, I think Amazon might give you a little bit of a nudge. I think they might say, you know what, this person's spending a little extra money with us. Let's give them a little bit of a bump in the rankings. I don't know for sure. But maybe it's like, like they're saying like, hey, they're doing a little extra here. Let's give them a little bump. I don't know, but I think that and I think, what you said too, and I mentioned this on the podcast that I interviewed you, and I mentioned that what you had said really kind of, it resonated with me. And you said, if you just think about, this one thing, how can I make Amazon more money? And they'll take care of you, right? It's as simple as that, right? Figure out a way to make them more money using their system, and they'll pretty much reward you. So again, by getting real reviews from your customers, by either lowering your price or giving them incentives for, buy two and get, one free, or whatever it is inside of there, that's going to help you in the long run because you're doing everything naturally and organically within there rather than trying to keep buying, reviews or feedbacks or whatever through these review groups, which I think it's great for the initial, for social proof, but then it's a matter of automating it through, like I said, Salesbacker, and then automating that sequence. And then it's just the follow-up and then repeating the process. Sales, reviews, feedback, sales, review, feedback, and just keep going around and around.
Awesome. I think that's a good stopping spot. Well, thanks so much, Scott, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much again for sharing your ideas and feedback with everybody else here.
Yeah, no problem. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, we can definitely come back in the future and probably hit on whatever else we're testing and whatever we see that's changing. And I'll definitely be in touch with you.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Chris.
All right. And that's the episode with Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you'd like to look at the show notes to see some more information on the resources that Scott mentioned, you can go to sellercast.com/podcast. and that'll get you there. And additionally, I'd love to see some more reviews on iTunes as well. So you can do that by going to sellercast.com/review. Really appreciate the feedback, and it helps us improve the show and make it better for you in terms of both the people that we bring on and also the variety of topics that we discuss. So thank you so much for listening. One other thing I want to mention is you can also go to sellercast.com/now if you'd like to get a free 60-day trial of Salesbacker. It's a tool that we built to help you get more reviews on Amazon. So let me know what you think of that as well. And thank you so much for tuning in. See you in the next episode.